Welcome to the top 10 ways to grow old. In his obsessively annotated 2020 Joy of a Book to Read and Learn From, the Socrates Express, Eric Weiner told me everything I know and more about philosophers, dead or alive. He also took the time to record, a la David Letterman, a list of the top 10 ways to grow old that I thought desperately needed sharing with those of you planning on getting older. I asked 10 of my peers to help me read a selection from that list, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we did recording it. The top 10 ways to grow old.
Own your own past. Older people have more of it than the rest of you. It can be therapeutic not to discard it, and creative. We always experience our past in the now. Memory is selective, which not only requires retention, but forgetfulness. Since we are free to recall memories to reactivate, why not recall the good? You know, the Greeks had words for retroactive joy, but none for guilt and regret. Standing near life's summit, elders can see further, coming and going. Hidden contours, benign coincidences, serendipities emerge. I met everyone I needed to meet when I needed to meet them. It's sort of learning. In our great summing up, we construct our narrative arc, one memory at a time. We can revive forgotten memories. We can round off incomplete pieces of knowledge, fill in gaps, clarify obscurities, gather scattered elements all together. Shackling your recollection to a frozen past, the forever heroic soldier, a beautiful young woman, binds you to a dead past. And the what-if path of rumination eventually leads to nowhere.
Make friends. Friendship is one of the greatest sources of happiness. Friends matter when you are young. They matter even more when you're old. They link your current self to your past self. That's why losing a friend when you're older is especially painful. When you're older, you lose a friend, a piece of your past, and a piece of yourself. Friendship with younger people is rejuvenating. They can lift your spirits. They can preserve your taste for life.
Stop caring what others think. Something curious and wonderful happens when you age. We no longer care what others think of us. More precisely, we realize they weren't thinking of us in the first place. We lose the childish illusion of standing in the very middle of the world. What a relief that can be. We're planets, not the sun. We absorb light, reflect it, but we do not create it. Old age can become intellectually liberating. It's often that as we're becoming old, doubts creep in about the value of your entire work that can stimulate a review that carries it to an even higher point of perfection. Think Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Verdi, Monet, and others.
Stay curious. The problem with the elderly is not that they act too young. It is that they don't act young enough. They act like 27-year-olds when they should be emulating 7-year-olds with a bigger brain. None are so old as those who have outlived enthusiasm. Wonder about cinema and opera and sports. Read newspapers, develop interests. And Weiner reassures us that Nothing keeps decrepitude at bay like a healthy and vigorous hatred. Resume pursuits that you previously abandoned. Travel. 2 days in a new location or country are worth 30 in familiar surroundings. Quite a return on your investment.
Pursue projects. Old age should arouse passion, not passivity. Have projects, not pastimes. Projects provide meaning. Pursue ends that give your existence meaning, devotion to individuals, to groups or causes, social, political, intellectual, or creative work. Bertrand Russell, at age 89, convicted on charges of taking part in an anti-nuclear demonstration, was offered relief from his 7-day imprisonment if he promised to behave himself. "No, I won't," he replied. Mic drop. Benjamin Spock, convicted on charges of protesting the Vietnam War, said, "This is one of the advantages of old age. You have more to give and less to lose." A blazing, fearless passion in an old man's frail body is a moving sight.
Be a poet of habit. Habit is not to be pitied. It isn't necessarily bad and possesses a beauty of its own. We need habits. They tether us to the world, our world. They are useful provided we recall why we formed them and continually question their value to us. We must own the habit and not the other way around. A habit is not a rut. Think of it more as a guardrail. It allows us to contain our lives. Embrace the poetry of habit. Read, but different books. Listen, but to different things. Create something new. Your days resemble one another, but never is there stagnation.
Do nothing. There's a time for activity and there's a time for nothingness. As a culture, we value the former, but not the latter. Take scheduled time to stop doing and just be. Expand to nothingness. Appreciate that you and your life have enjoyed everything as much as possible and for as long as you could.
Embrace the absurdity. A philosophy called absurdism says that the world is irrational, that it makes no sense. All of our accomplishments crumble under the unforgiving boot of time. Yet we persist. This is absurdity. An elaborate stage production performed enthusiastically and repeatedly to an empty theater. Old age isn't life's parody. Life is life's parody. Old age is simply the punchline, say absurdists. How to respond? Isn't life just as absurd at 25 as it is at 75? But at 75, we're more aware of it. We have amassed enough accolades and saved enough money to appreciate just how meaningless they are. Embrace the certainty of a crushing fate without the recognition that ought to accompany it. Embrace a passionate heroism, delighting in the magic of life and life's work for its own sake.
Disengage constructively. As we age, the impulse to cling more tightly to life. We must learn how to let go. It is not apathy, but a stepping back. You are still a passenger in the train, but you are less unnerved by each bump and shimmy, less concerned about reaching your destination on time. Bertrand Russell, at age 97, endorsed expanding your circle of interest, making them wider and more impersonal, until bit by bit, the walls of the ego recede and your life becomes increasingly merged in the universal life. Your life is a river that grows wider. The banks recede, the water flows more quickly, and in the end, without any visible break, they become merged into the sea and painlessly lose their individual being. Everything has its time. even this.
Passing the torch. Poems are never finished, only abandoned. Unfinished business is not a sign of failure, the opposite. The person who departs this world with no unfinished business hasn't fully lived. As our future shrinks, other futures grow. Our unfinished business will be taken over. If in younger people's schemes you recognize your own, then feel that your life will be prolonged long after you are in your grave. There are no guarantees. The youngsters might make a mess of it, just like we did. We are like travelers at an inn, leaving the room the way we found it, or not, and perhaps dropping a note or two in the suggestion box as we leave. As a group, teach others to question everything, especially their questions. Show them how to gaze at the world with wonder. Teach them to never, never, ever stop learning. Do everything, but make time for nothing too. Own your life. Love it or not. It is your choice.